So you can take it everywhere, and it's only available right here. Order yours today and get a free wheelchair case, a $50 value, yours free. The Feather Chair, the world's lightest wheelchair, is just $4.99 with easy payments as low as $16 a month. Sorry, no Medicare or insurance accepted. So call right now to order yours.
800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. That's 800-823-5826.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. If you're trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581. Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
The voice of Johnson County, JoCo Community Radio.
All right, Johnson County. This is the JoCo voice. I am your host, Mike Wilshire. I'll get to my guest in just a minute, but we got to jump right into Johnson County, Hood County news, actually. So, for anyone who didn't realize, it was Election Day yesterday, and the candidate for council member, Brad Benson, was arrested for child pornography. He was held on 2 counts in the Hood County Jail. Sheriff Roger Deed said Benson was booked into the Hood County Jail. Now, obviously, Hood County can't comment on any active case that's going on, but just on looking at from what I assume, from what I can see on public records, looking at the actual the booking, the bond report, and all that I can see, Benson was held on a $200,000 bond, $100,000 for each account. He is no longer listed as active in the system as being a person that is in jail. So I assume he made bond and is out. We'll probably see that in the news later on, and somebody chasing him around trying to do an interview. Nearest I can tell from all my research and everyone I talked to, we're looking at somebody that had something on their computer. Once again, you guys saving stuff to a computer, I'll never understand it. Never create a paper trail, never create a digital trail. Hey, but why don't you not do something nasty like child pornography while we're at it? All right, moving on. Centennial High School has from an active investigation going on right now for one of their students was groped by the wrestling coach. Now, I didn't put anything up on this one because, I mean, innocent until proven guilty, and this individual has not been arrested. It's been referred over to the Burleson Police Department for investigation, but the teacher has been removed from Centennial High School and has been terminated. So if we get any new news or anyone else wants to jump in and comment, let us know. It is a warm, I think 87 was the high today, 66 was the low. We're coming to you on November the 8th, and I'm going to jump right to my guest because this guy has been awesome and kept me entertained all week. Ladies and gentlemen, Keith from Sheds Custom Sheds by Keith.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Listen, guys, he has the voice of God. It's like you and Morgan Freeman need to explain science to me.
Well, I have the face for radio.
That me too. Unfortunately, you guys get to see us on camera, and whew, thank God it's not a close up, right?
Amen.
Whenever you're born ugly, you're stuck ugly. If you're a man, there's no makeup to cover up us, right?
That's it. This is what you get.
The wife will wake up next to this and go, "Oh, there he is. Oh, good morning, honey."
I told her you married this.
Right. That's obvious that they make mistakes too, right? Because look, here we are. Okay, so you're the owner of Custom Sheds by Keith, and I want to go through a little bit of history. You were born and raised here, right?
In Fort Worth, yes.
Yeah. What high school?
Carter Riverside.
No.
Born and raised in Riverside.
Right. And so, always been a Fort Worth boy.
Yep.
Cowboys fan, Rangers fan.
Sure.
Yeah. Whenever things are good, Rangers fan this year, right?
Absolutely. Go
Everything
Rangers.
Everything went good. All right. So real quick, we're going to introduce everybody to Big Blue. There is the Shed by Keith at shedbykeith.com. And let's just jump right into Big Blue real quick for a minute. Okay.
Sure.
I've been in there. This thing is awesome.
I appreciate it. We had a lot of fun building it.
Well, and we both talked about, I love tiny houses, but I'm never going to live in one.
Exactly.
I
love building them, but yeah, it's not my cup of tea to live in.
Well, one of my friends is 4'11", and she was like, could he make me a custom just for my size? And I got to thinking, that would be the ultimate thing for us to film. We should film you building like this 4'11" and make all the, everything custom for just her.
There you go.
And her height. And I think that'd make for a great YouTube page. And then we got to go eat dinner with her at the place afterwards, and the two of us look like giants inside, like Andre the Giant trying to eat at this little bitty hobbit house. It's 3 apples high. She's 4'11".
Right.
Make it shaped like a mushroom.
Right.
When it's over and done with. But you do full blown custom from the ground up.
From the ground up, yeah. So everything we build is built custom on site. We work with our customer. We don't do anything cookie cutter.
Mm-hmm.
We work with our customer to design the building, window placement, door placement, and it's not like going on the internet and just placing a window here or whatever. We have custom windows built.
Mm-hmm.
We did a building recently that had stop sign shaped windows up in the peaks.
Oh, wow.
They had a couple of lofts up there, and we had these little windows up there. They were really nice.
Well, for folks who don't understand, because I'm an amateur carpenter, I can work to the 1/8 of an inch, but you are hiring full-blown professional carpenters, finished grade carpentry. Doing an octagonal window has got to be
framing up an octagonal window, and then so framing it with 2x4s, framing it with the trim on the outside,
mm-hmm.
Cutting the siding to that trim. Yeah, I'm real proud of the work we do like that.
That's something else, man.
Yeah.
I'm just hearing it in my head. My dad would probably be, slobbering at the mouth just to know that he would get to do that kind of a measurement.
Right.
The trig that went in it in his head, the angles and all that stuff. My dad's where I got the carpentry bug from. So you did not always do this, right? What did you had a whole nother career before this?
So my life before this was I was in advertising. I was in print media, worked for an ad agency, and I can't draw a stick figure. I wasn't in creative, but I was on the print side of everything. So once all the creative and things were done, then we would send it out to papers all over the United States, magazines. But I was in advertising for 25 years. And so, through osmosis, I was able to soak up a lot of the advertising, and which is part of the success of the business is being able to advertise and talk about my buildings and show good pictures of the buildings. And if you check out the website, you'll see lots of pretty pictures.
laid your first foundation in what year? What started off Sheds by Keith? What year?
So 2010.
Okay.
And actually it was a shed in our backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I back up for a second. My running joke during my tenure at the agency was, I'm going to quit and go build sheds.
One day you made yourself an honest man. Huh?
I did. But the very first building I ever built was in our own backyard. It was a 12 by 16 barn style building. My wife was out there on the table saw cutting stuff with me, and so that was our first building.
She still got all her fingers.
She does.
None of y'all miss. I always check that on a carpenter, man.
I got
know,
8 of
right?
them.
Yeah, always use your safety guards, kids. Always use your safety guards.
Absolutely.
It's when you turn to your shop teacher and I say, "How long am I supposed to make this?" And he holds it up, and I'm like, "Is that 9.5 feet or is that 10? I don't know."
Right.
Right. Okay. So you service how far?
So I service the entire DFW area. I mean, we've built several buildings up in Allen, Melissa, Wiley. Up along the 380 corridor, Prosper, all up in there.
So Johnson County's no problem.
Johnson County's no problem. We've built down here in Burleson,
Okay.
Cleburne. We've been down on Lake Whitney. We built a lake house on Lake Whitney.
Mm-hmm.
We've also built a cabin up in the Ozarks in Arkansas,
Mm-hmm.
and spent a couple of weeks up there with my carpenters and built that. We've built some cabins and tiny houses up in Oklahoma and then South Texas, East Texas.
Now
So,
that
but 95% of our work's here in the DFW area.
Okay. And I so like anything, I've been talking to you for a week, and I dove my butt off into the rabbit hole and was looking at anything and everything. And like you said, you are not the cheapest.
Correct.
There's a reason.
Correct.
You build better than house quality.
We build it at better than house construction quality.
Right.
And we do it with skilled carpenters and not laborers. We're not
Right.
just throwing something together. We are literally stick building these. We show up on site with a lumberyard trailer full of raw materials, and we cut and build on site.
Right.
And, which is actually better and more helpful because we can take into account different terrain. No ground is completely flat.
Right.
So we can build on the terrain.
Mm-hmm.
If we've actually about a month ago, we built a customer had a concrete slab already poured.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was only 12 feet wide, but in that 12 feet, it fell 10 inches.
Right.
And so what we did was, so the front wall was 8 foot,
Mm-hmm.
the back wall was 8'10".
Right.
And so we even though the slab is on a slant, the building is plumb
Because you have
because
professional carpenters working for you that know.
and we literally cut every single stud to a different size
Mhm.
so that our header would be completely level.
Folks, there's a reason why concrete costs so much, because it will, if you do it yourself and you don't know what you're doing, it will fall on you sometimes. It will slant. It does happen. But all right. So talk to me about what's important. Well, before you do talk about what's important, because you and I, we wrote some stuff down and we went back and forth over it. But I got to tell you, when I reached out to you just to talk, to get you to come on the show, someone answered the phone.
Yep.
Shannon answered the phone.
Absolutely.
And then within 20, 30 minutes, I had messages
You had
and a
sent,
phone call from you.
Yeah, Shannon had answered the
Yep.
phone, and you had actually sent me a message on Facebook.
Right.
And I think it was about 30 minutes before I replied to you. But
So now that's good and bad depending on the age of my person I'm dealing with. If I've got like a 27-year-old person I'm talking to, I'm pretty sure he's up on a ladder doing the job by himself.
right.
And then whenever I've got older guys I'm talking to, I'm pretty sure they got good quality people like you do out there working. So you can
Absolutely.
get back to me pretty quick. But you're not just the owner. You get out there and throw down and frame depending on
I do.
said how good the arthritis is for the day, right?
We got a front coming in, so I might not be able to get out there today because
Right.
things are hurting. But no, the last 2 weeks, last week and the week before, I was out there on site building.
Right. Same day quotes,
Same
next day quotes.
Yep.
on that site building.
So
You guys, it's whenever it's happening, right?
Yeah, I've got Shannon Thomas as my director of operations. He mans the phones. He does the quotes, site visits. Shannon runs the company. I'm just here to help.
Right. And so you're not just a company that builds garden sheds in a backyard,
Correct.
right? You tell me about the different types of sheds you build. I mean,
So, custom sheds by Keith is pretty obvious, but over the years, because of the quality that we build at and the customization that we build at, we built backyard offices, greenhouses. We've built music studios, tiny houses. So, and the thing is whether we're building just a simple 8x10 shed or a 600 square foot tiny house, we're still building at the same quality.
right.
Nothing changes.
Right. And I can tell you right now from experience, having a quality studio, it's everything in the build prior to you before you even going and putting any soundproofing.
Right.
If it's done right, it saves you a lot on the end and soundproofing. So, and you use the same subcontractors. I can't talk. You use the same subs for everything, right?
I do. I've got Brandon Cox with Ridgetop Electric. He's been wiring my buildings for about 8 years now.
Your AC guy?
My AC guy, Bobby with Air Aware. He's been putting ACs in my buildings for about 4 years now. Recently, within the last 2 years, I've been working with a general contractor to do, as carpenters, we can, but we don't do a whole lot of finish out work. We're not, I'll tell you, we're not good at sheetrock and tape and bed. There's a special skill and art to that. And quite honestly, I don't have it.
Well, if you've ever seen those guys do that, like even if you watch shows on DIY, they tell you, do not even try to do the tape and bed yourself.
Right.
Even if you're decent at sheetrock, don't try to do the tape and bed yourself. Try to get somebody that's pro. Now,
So
I come from a family where we had pros that did sheetrock in my family. So it was always worked out in trade. I had
Right.
roofers in my family. I have carpenters in my family. I'm a carpenter, not a finished carpenter, but we could frame up, we could square up. Everything was plumb and done just right.
Well, and talking about Big Blue out here, we did do the finish out on that ourselves. We did wire it. We did shiplap on the walls. Which is basically just an overlapping board. So, as carpenters, we can work with that. We did
shiplap. I hear women say shiplap all the time. Watch Chip and Joanna for 5 minutes out of Waco and everything's shiplapped.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Got a kid with a shiplap room. We're going to shiplap this. I'm like, no, we're not. We're not shiplapping anything in here.
We've got tongue and groove pine on the ceiling.
Yeah.
And it for, again, from a carpenter standpoint, it's a simple build, but it just really stands out. Those two, having the shiplap and the pine, just really looks good.
I am a tongue and groove pine guy, and if I could build my own personal little cabin, I would have tongue and groove pine. I just love the color of it.
Absolutely, or
everything.
cedar.
Yeah, something. Cedar would probably be best. I mean, obviously, but people in my life are allergic to cedar, so it'd probably be a big deal, right? And so talk about your backyard offices. Now, with COVID, you probably built more than one.
Yeah. So, before COVID, we were, 80% building sheds. When COVID hit and everybody started, working from home, they were working, from a chair in the bedroom or the dining room table with the kids, running around, and you saw all the YouTube videos of people trying to do a Zoom meeting and the kids come in
and so real quick, you have an office back behind your house.
Correct.
That you have a little commute of a walkway.
Correct.
That you have to do. I like that. For me, I like to get up, get dressed, brush my teeth, put deodorant on, and go to an office.
Right.
I really am that kind of guy.
Right.
Whenever there's no one here at the studio and I know I can work, I'll come up here and work just because I like to get out and be out in that type of stuff.
Well, and
so it really helps with the dog barking, the kid.
Absolutely.
You don't know who's in. And I was telling my friend, I was like, you need to get in office because that way at least you make sure you put pants on. You don't want to be like one of those newscasters that had his leg up and you could tell he was in his boxer drawers or something, and you're like, you don't want to be that guy.
Well, it's just a matter of going somewhere else. My brother, for example, has been working remotely for 15 years,
Mm-hmm.
and he even before the term backyard office came around,
He had the backyard
he had
office,
he
huh?
had a shop with an office in it, and so he just set that up as his office so that you feel like you're in a work environment and not sitting around with the big screen in front of you and while you're trying to work.
Right. And so Big Blue, your boy
Uh-huh.
out there. Now, we were hoping everybody would be able to see Big Blue on the camera, but you can't because it's dark, because it gets dark at noon now during daylight savings time. But looks pretty cool going down the road.
Go to the Facebook page. Go to
Yeah.
my Facebook page, and there's tons of pictures of Big Blue.
Plug your Facebook. What is it called? Sheds by Keith?
Sheds by Keith. Facebook.com, Sheds by Keith.
Okay. And you bring samples with you. You bring stuff out there with Big Blue.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, Big Blue is pretty much the big sample board.
right. Everything's in there.
Everything's in there. We've got, on the outside has lap siding. On one of the walls on the inside actually has exterior siding that we painted, and it looks nice. So we've got two different samples of exterior siding. We've got the shiplap, we've got the pine. We've got the transom windows up top,
Mhm.
which a lot of customers, a lot of buildings that we build with transom windows.
Yeah, that extra light.
That extra light,
yeah.
absolutely.
Everybody likes
Especially in
extra
the home
natural light.
offices.
Yeah, you like that natural lighting in the home office. And I know I work in a basement at UT Southwestern, so I know that I would love to have a window
Right.
somewhere or another, that a skylight or something. So, all right. So talk to us about your tiny homes. I want to work our way into that.
So, going from sheds to backyard offices, a lot of customers were saying, I want my backyard office, but I don't want to have to walk in the house to, go to the restroom or use a faucet to get water or anything like that. Can we put plumbing in it? And can we put a small bathroom in it? And the construction answer is absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
The city code answer is, well, maybe.
Right.
A lot of so that we have over 200 municipalities in the DFW area, and not one of them is the same as far as code goes.
Oh yeah.
So you can build a shed, you can insulate it, you can wire it, you can turn it into a man cave or she shed, but the moment you put water in it, any kind of water, whether it's a faucet or a toilet, it becomes a second dwelling on the property. And a lot of cities will not allow a second dwelling on the property. So it's just a matter of checking with your city code to, and that's something that we do.
Okay.
We can, we pull all the permits needed for a project. We work with the cities, and we can, before we even get started on anything, we're going to check, if you want a bathroom in this, we're going to check with the city and see if we can do it.
Sure. And I mean, sometimes the answer is no, but you can get all the other stuff.
Exactly.
And do you do them really cool drawers that are underneath the stairs, and
well,
or is that somebody else have to have that done later?
That's what my GC does.
That's the GC
Yeah.
does all that.
Yeah. So once we get a completed shell and some finish out, that we'll do, then the GC will come in and work with the customer to, pinpoint exactly what it's going to take to make it their space.
Right. Little loft area for you to chunk the wire.
Right.
And take the ladder away.
I'm
chunk
sorry.
the wife over and take the ladder away, and it's like
My headphones are cutting out. What is that?
Right. I don't want to die. My significant other is up there in the loft. She said she can't get down because you took the ladder. I don't know what you're talking about. By the way, don't sit on the ladder. You're over there, right?
Right.
No, I think they're cool. I mean, I watch the shows all the time and stuff, and I think they're really cool things. But you and I are tall guys. Like,
right.
Tiny house is not what we need.
No. Well, and I've got a few extra things that I don't think would fit in a tiny house. I've got quite a bit of stuff.
Right. You don't even get a junk drawer when you have a tiny house, right?
Exactly.
Every drawer is absolutely. You get like 4 shirts and 2 pants.
Well, it's kind of like your pegboard for your tools. Everything's outlined and everything. So kind of the same thing in a tiny house. You got to make sure everything goes in the right spot.
Right. I don't want a tiny house, but I want my next pantry in my house to be the size of a tiny house.
There you go.
Like I want it to have cabinets all around so I can have like every device plugged in, you know, the standalone mixer, the
Right.
whatever. I never had to take it out. It's always in there and it's always plugged in. And all I got to do is flip the light switch on and then all the plugs are active. And that way I don't have to worry about anything.
There you go.
That's I don't want to do the tiny house.
There
type
you go.
thing. So, man, we've flown right by, right? It goes by quick whenever you're talking about something you like, right?
I tell you what, this is it's so fun. You
Mhm.
know what we do. You know, when I started this business, I was like, you know, I just want to have fun doing this, and I haven't stopped having fun.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
just-
So, well, I'd skipped over it, but I want to come back to it because as a carpenter, I know, and you'll probably relate to this because you have a reason why you build the foundations the way you do. You use treated 2x6s.
so anything smaller than a 12x16, we
Mhm.
do use treated 2x6s,
Mhm.
and I put those 2x6s on 16-inch centers. Uh, what we do is we take 4-inch thick by 16-inch by 16-inch concrete house leveling blocks,
Mhm.
put it underneath all four corners.
Mhm.
We build our base,
Mhm.
and then underneath all of our floor joists in the middle of the building, we also put a stack of concrete blocks.
Okay.
So we're literally building a pier and beam house,
Right.
a pier and beam foundation.
Right.
And then before we put the plywood down, we also put cross bracing on 16-inch centers.
Mhm.
So when we're done, before we put plywood down, it looks like a checkerboard.
Right.
And what that does for us is those cross bracings. Whenever you step on a joist, it transfers that weight to the joist beside it.
Right.
And so there is no sag, there is
Nope.
no soft spot in the floor.
You know it when you walk across one.
Exactly.
I do know that.
Yeah.
From all my experience. So, do you use I'm sorry, do you use treated plywood on the bottom?
And then we use treated plywood
Okay. So
for sheds.
for sheds.
If it's going to be a backyard office or tiny house, then we'll use 3/4 inch tongue and groove OSB
Okay.
because that's your subfloor.
Right.
And then they'll come in with another layer of plywood and then flooring on top of that.
Okay. Okay. So reason why I ask is every shed I've ever had, the floor rotted out.
Yeah.
And just anyone they're like, I shoulda, and I'm like, why didn't you? The cost. Well, now look at you.
Right.
How you gonna do this?
And something that we also recommend is, well, one even treated plywood, if you get oil or gas or anything on it, it's gonna shorten the life of it. That 40-year piece of plywood may last you 20 years.
Right.
But what I suggest a lot of times is that the customer, give that treated plywood about 60 days to kind of dry out, and then paint it.
Uh-huh.
And what you can do is you can use some painter's sand in your paint to paint on that floor, and then that gives you a bit of a grip surface.
Right. And then any kind of paint. What is there special paint that you'd recommend? The oil?
No,
based
just a regular paint. Yeah,
just a regular paint.
Just put you some sand in there to create a grip.
Right. Get you a
for
little
walking
bit of grip.
on.
Man, I need a shed so bad. I got so much crap in my garage that I need to.
I know a guy.
I know a guy that knows a guy too, and I think that guy should know a guy. But I'm not going to put a bathroom out there, and I'm not going to put any water out there because then somebody's going to expect me to go live out there whenever I've done something wrong.
Well,
That's the way it goes. I don't want to.
Right.
It's like them guys, man. Like they made a show about those. The Mormon guy with Bill Paxton, where he had like 3 or 4 wives. They made that show about him, and you think that's a guy's dream, and you're like, yeah, no, there's a way they would gang up on me.
Right.
There's no way. And in the end, that's the way that show, I think the last season I watched of it, that's where it went. Yeah. So, I could talk about tiny homes and carpentry all day long. When we come back, though, we're going to talk about what your passion is and where this is all leading, because you have a plan.
I hopefully have a plan.
All right. Stick around, everybody. This is the JoCo Voice. I'm here with Keith Fromm. I'm your host, Mike Wilshire, and we'll be right back.
Attention all business owners and creative minds. Do you need a unique and personalized touch for your products? Look no further than Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Romika Designs. We offer custom laser engraving services for a variety of products, including promotional items and corporate or personal gifts. With state-of-the-art equipment and a team of skilled designers, we can engrave intricate designs on virtually any material. Whether it's a special message, a company logo, or a custom design, Romika Laser Engraving will help you make your mark. And the best part, our prices are affordable and our turnaround time is quick.
I couldn't be happier with the work Romika Laser Engraving did for me. The engraving on my product was precise and exactly what I wanted.
So don't wait any longer to add a personal touch to your products. Call Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs today at 817-400-4040 or visit our website at romikadesigns.com. We look forward to helping you make your mark.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395. Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395.
You're listening to JoCo Community Radio.
All right, and we're back. Okay, everyone. So I'm here with Keith Fromm, and we are talking about Custom Sheds by Keith, his bread and butter, his baby, everything he loves, and all this building and all these things that you're doing. It's not just you. You're just a builder, and this is what you do. You actually, you don't have to do this. You're already retired. You're good. This is just what you do because you have another passion that you're wanting.
A dream.
A dream. Okay. So let's discuss that a little bit. The actual dream is to, tell us what that dream is.
So the dream is something I've called Dignity Park, and I want it to be a planned community for homeless. That's the goal,
right?
So have perhaps have 50 units, have a community center in the middle of it, have a recreation area, a garden area. The community center can have a community kitchen where everybody can get together and cook and eat together. It can have a conference area to bring speakers in. Church services,
counseling, all the above, right?
And then maybe some private offices for one-on-one counseling. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Man, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm going to get in trouble. I didn't do my job.
Go ahead.
I got to read the commercials. The reason, the whole reason for living, and I didn't do it. You had one job to do, Mike, one job. All right. JoCo Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 24/7 on the TuneIn Radio Network. TuneInJoCo.com is the place to find all the ways to listen and watch the station app. It is also available for free on Android and Apple devices. Simply search your store. Check out our lineup and more at JoCoCommunityRadio.com. This episode and more brought to you by the Next Level Claims, making your insurance work for you. Reach out to your Texas sales rep at 844-TEX-HAIL. That's 844-839-4245. Be sure to dress your arms and more at thetiffy.com. Man, she's going to beat on me whenever I walk out of here, hit me with a stick. I totally forgot. All right. So this is whenever I went through this, okay, so this is what kind of set you aside after I started going down the rabbit hole. And I want to say you talked about this Dignity Park, I don't know, 15 minutes, 10 minutes into what this is a passion of yours.
It is.
This is. And you wrote an email and you gave me a really good read. And I mean, like, this is a read that, well, usually whenever I'm at work and I'm doing something, I don't read anything until I know I'm not going to have any distractions or whatever. But I was actually at work, started reading it, and I went, wait a minute, I really need to read this with no distractions. And so I waited till my calendar was clear there at the job. And I was like, okay, now I'm going to read this. And I'm reading, somebody would come talk to me. I'm like, what's wrong with you? You could have talked to me 20 minutes ago. I'm reading something. I'll come get you whenever I need you, kind of thing. This was
Thank
good
you.
stuff. It was, talk to me about the we must use our gifts.
Well, so Dignity Park, Dignity Park was something that God put on my heart about 4 years ago.
Okay.
And the concept, it's not a novel concept. Okay, this isn't my original idea.
Mhm.
There's communities out there that's have built tiny homes for homeless.
Mhm.
Okay, the and there's a place down in Austin called Community First, I believe, and he's done a wonderful job trying to put together housing for homeless,
Mhm.
individual units. The a lot of the people trying to do this, they're getting donated RVs, people living in RVs. What my vision is just like a planned community. You've got nice houses and things like that. Well, this would be 12 by 20 tiny homes,
Mhm.
uh, custom built and a very nice looking micro neighborhood, if you will.
Right.
Um, and you asked me a question. I forgot what it was.
No. This is good stuff. So, well, for an example, all right. So, I lived down the street whenever I was young and married to my first wife. We lived down the street from a halfway house. This halfway house that was down there used to be like I want to say like a daycare center, and they took each individual daycare room and they turned it into like a room for people to stay
Right,
in,
right.
type thing. Didn't have its own bathroom. It was just a room. Um, it really was miserable living from what I saw, and I dare use this word squalor. What you sent pictures of what you're looking at, I would live in. Like, I mean, this
Thank
is a
you.
nice little community center. It's
Thank you so
not,
much.
yeah, no, this is not. You come from this, uh, uh, from your gift that you were given from God as a builder to what you want to do going forward for society.
Right. Well, and again, I just want the units to look very nice. I want someone to have pride in where they're living.
Mhm.
Um and so that's my goal. The gifts that I have been given, the gift of building, that, I feel like unless I do something with this gift, I have to give back. I have to
Sure.
figure out a way to use my gifts to give back to my community, to show my thanks to God for
Mhm.
what He's given me,
Mhm.
whether I deserved it or not. I've got to give this back.
Right. Right. And who have you pitched these ideas to?
So, I've well when I first so like I said, this is something that God put on my heart 4 years ago. The first 3 years I spent, getting the ideas together.
Mhm.
We spent money doing renderings and redoing the renderings. We built a website for it, dignitypark.com.
Okay.
You can go and check out what we've done there. And again, this is all conceptual and just our vision for it. Um, the
My
and
question was, who did you pitch it to?
Who did I pitch it to?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
that's okay. That's okay.
So this year is when I decided, okay, we've come up with all the designs, we've thought about it as much as we can, we've got to start moving forward.
Right.
So first thing I did is I started emailing every city councilman, mayor pro tem, city managers. I sent out about 400 emails.
How many did you get a response back from?
4 or 5.
That sounds about like I mean, I'm not
And
trying to
I sent him the same information I sent you.
really.
Yeah. With the drawings, with price analysis,
Well,
cost
I dare
analysis.
say I would make a better mayor than any of
And-
them, right?
Well, and so
So you got a state official that didn't respond to an email. Yep, that sounds like some stories that I've heard already. You know, who okay, so you did say Plano Magazine
So-
actually did an article on it.
so back in March,
Mm-hmm.
and it was actually one of my carpenters had a friend who worked at a magazine, and then that friend worked at Plano Magazine. Anyway, they found out about the concept of Dignity Park, and we had a conversation. They did an article
Okay.
on my ideas for Dignity Park.
Right.
From there, the Rotary Club came to me and asked me to speak about it.
Yeah.
And so I did a speech at the Rotary Club about it.
Right.
So, and that was in May. So,
Because the Rotary Club actually reads Plano Magazine, right?
right.
This is why we're doing the podcast. This is why we're doing the radio show. This is why we're doing things that we're doing to try to get other people to read it that are going to understand. This is not just a me issue. This is not just me driving down the road, seeing someone homeless and going, this is an us issue. I mean,
Absolutely.
Homelessness is I joke about it because I am a veteran. I got traumatic brain injury. I got PTSD, and I've been driving down the road with my kids, and they look over and see a guy arguing with a light pole, and they're like, "Man, this guy's really bad off." And I'm like, "Man, I'm about 3 bad days away from joining him." You know, I mean, I can see it. There's times where as a veteran where I'm like, man, laying on the side of the road, I did that in Iraq. I could probably do that here too and just do just fine off of whatever I panhandle for. I mean, you're dealing with issues. You're dealing with people with severe issues, and we don't have state funding for hospitals like we did back in the day.
Right.
We don't have. I know that I was listening to a prison warden talk the other day, and he was talking about the medicine that they distribute to a lot of the inmates is because there's no mental health facility for them. They committed a crime to end up in here, and now they're doing better that they're in jail, and some of them are scared about getting out
Right.
because they're going to be off their meds and there is no help for them.
Right.
Whenever it's kind of going on. So you said the City of Fort Worth Housing Authority talked with you.
So I was able to speak with the City of Fort Worth Housing, and then also had a meeting with the Tarrant County Homeless Coalition.
Okay.
Positive meetings, and again, a lot of my meetings have been fact finding missions for myself. Okay, I've never tried to do anything like this, so I'm learning.
Right.
I'm pushing forward, but I'm also learning.
You're
And
exploring the dark side of the moon, right?
Well-
I mean, there's nobody to tell you what to look into and how to do it.
Well, and that's the thing is I don't, it's not the thing. I'm not afraid of the answers I'm going to get. I'm afraid of the questions that I don't know to ask.
Or the silence.
Right.
I think I don't. I would much rather you tell me, like whenever I reach out for sponsors for the show, or whenever I reach out to have somebody, hey, have you listened to my show? I'd much rather you tell me no, I'm probably not going to because I got a podcast I listen to. I'm probably not going to. I got a radio show I listen to. I'm probably, I would much rather that than I didn't get around to it this week. I didn't get around. And eventually someone's like, how's that radio show of yours going? Oh, it's horrible. It's awful. It's absolutely terrible. And then they're like, well, what's going on? I don't really want to talk about it. And then just kind of leave it at that. Because I'm like, you're not even going to listen to it anyways, so why would I tell you anything whenever I'm totally BSing? And then they'll go and listen to it. And they're, I thought it was pretty good. Oh, okay, cool. So you've received the sounds of silence.
Right.
Haven't necessarily been shot down, but you've received the sounds of silence along the way.
But I'm not deterred. I'm gonna keep pushing. Fort Worth has about 5,000 homeless people right now. Dallas has about 8,000. In the DFW Metroplex, we have a homeless population of about 14 to 16,000.
Right.
And again, I'm not the end all be all to solve this problem. Okay. There are organizations out there that are doing a fantastic job of helping helping the homeless,
Right.
you know, the missions, the night shelters, and things like that.
Right.
But to any problem, there's many solutions. You can't just say this is the one problem and this is the one solution.
No.
This is the problem, and we need 100 solutions.
Right.
Dignity Park is just one of 100
Right.
solutions.
It's a drop in a bucket
Exactly.
of everything that needs to happen.
Exactly.
And it's a huge. I mean, if anyone thinks it's not a huge issue, I dare you to get up at 4 a.m. and drive to Parkland Hospital,
Right.
and you will see 200-300 homeless people before you ever get to Parkland.
Right.
Depending on how you drive. If you drove off the freeway, if you drove all the back roads to get there, you'd probably see 1,000.
Right.
Just because, I mean, I see it every morning. There's a little shanty area that I turn around in, and it's just there's probably 25 people underneath that bridge.
Well, and COVID, you know, exacerbated the problem.
Mhm.
Excuse me. Not only with you know, financially people becoming homeless, but even the shelters themselves. You know, a shelter might hold 200 people, but because of COVID and distancing, they were only allowed to have 100 people in the shelter.
Right.
So that was 100 people left out in the cold.
Right. And that's awful.
Right.
I mean, nobody should be left out. Not
Right.
one.
Right.
Now, okay, so this is where I get to pick on you just a little bit because neither
Sure.
one of us are political. We've been talking about it all the time that we've known each other. We just don't get into that. Somebody else is better at politics than probably we are.
Right.
But I did ask you if it's politics that blocks this program, or do you think it's something else?
I mean, it's money.
Money.
And I really think that's just the simple truth.
That's what blocks everything.
That's the simple truth
Yeah.
of it. You know, in talking to the Tarrant County Homeless Coalition and talking to the city of Fort Worth,
Where are we going to get the funding?
where are we going to get the funding? I
Right.
mean, so for example, if I were to build a 100 unit Dignity Park with the community center, you know, with all the amenities, it'd be about $10 million.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, throw another fact on the table here is a homeless person costs a city approximately $40,000 a year.
Mhm.
And that's in you know, going to the hospital for medical, that's police and fire being called out to help somebody,
Mhm.
things like that.
It costs money when the police show up.
Absolutely.
I was trying to explain to a friend of mine one time. He goes, "I can't believe it's illegal to commit suicide." I'm like, "You do realize it's a state problem, right? It's a municipal problem. If you commit suicide, somebody has to come out and clean that up.
Right.
They have to take a report. Somebody has to take you to the coroner's office. There has to be an investigation. That all costs money. So a homeless person is not just sitting out there
Right.
on the side of the road and not your problem. That
So-
is money that the state, that your taxpayer money is going to handle
Right.
already."
So an unhoused homeless person costs the government about $40,000. City, state, federal. It cost us $40,000.
Mhm.
If we put a homeless person in a home, they cost us $20,000 because they're not getting as sick as often. They're not the police or fire are not having to be called out to help them as often. They're in a stable environment. So a dignity home, a 12 by 20, fully completed with a bathroom, fully finished out dignity home is $60,000,
Mhm.
and we can pay for that, pay for itself in 3 years,
Right.
and then after that, it's we're in the green.
Sure. Sure. And I had asked you this directly, and I wanted to give you an opportunity on the air to respond to it. Do you think homelessness is a state problem, a federal problem? Do you think it's society, religion? Do you think it's whose problem is
It's a humanity problem. I mean, it's not just a Dallas Fort Worth problem.
It's
It's
the world.
it's a humanity
Right.
issue. I
Right.
mean, no one. I mean, everybody should be able to ask for help and receive it,
Mhm.
and not. Well, I'm sorry. We're full. This shelter's full tonight. We can't take you in.
Right. Did you ever see
Uh,
that movie with Will Smith with the little boy?
I couldn't. I couldn't do it.
It was hard.
I couldn't
was-
watch it.
I mean, like it really was, being a big tough guy and all. I try not to watch any of those things because I'm like, man, I'm gonna cry like a baby, and nobody wants to see that 6'1", 300-pound guy boohooing like a baby. I mean, nobody wants to see it. But that one was, I wanted to watch it, but I will admit it was really, really hard to get through.
Right.
And recently there was a young lady that was talking about her mom had a lot of mental illness, and her mom basically kidnapped her from her father and kept her on the run for a while.
Well,
And in some of the stories she was telling, I mean, it just made me sick to my stomach to actually listen to it. And I mean, I get that um, I get that the motivation is to tell it so that we appreciate what we have and look forward to a better life.
right.
But that one was really, that one with that little boy, man. I don't like seeing a little kid suffer at all and stuff.
It's funny that the timing of all this, because actually yesterday I was my wife and I were watching the Kelly Clarkson show
Mhm.
from Burleson, Kelly
Mhm.
Clarkson,
Mhm.
and she does a segment on people doing good things.
Mhm.
There, she had a gentleman on there who did run a homeless facility,
Mhm.
and he and his little daughter were at his work there at the homeless facility, and a little girl came up to him and said, "Hey, Mr. Smith, is that you?" And he said, "Well, hi, Jill, how are you today?" "Well, I'm here with my mom. We're in this bed right over here."
Mhm.
And it blew him away. He said I couldn't believe that my daughter's friend was homeless.
Right.
So it's we see it on the sidewalks, but it's a lot closer than you think.
Oh yeah. Scare the ever living daylights out of you if you ever thought of what would you do if, because I mean the Dust Bowl, people who were really able to provide for themselves, there was nowhere to go.
Right.
That was just flat out homelessness,
Right.
right? I mean, and you got to take up and move, and you got to go somewhere else and try to start over, and there's nowhere to go,
Right.
kind of thing. So, it would be nice. I mean, I've never been homeless, but I have slept under a few bridges, covered up, snuggled up next to some Marines, when it's cold, and that's not in a bad way. That's where they made us stay for the night on a convoy duty.
Right.
They're like, y'all sleep there. Wow, it's never looked more comfortable. After you've been up for about 48 solid hours, you're like, man, I'm gonna have to do something to get through this night. It's awesome. You ever run into some hilarious stuff whenever you're building? Ever nailed your hand to anything yet?
So way back in the beginning, when I first started the business, it was just me out there by myself,
Mm-hmm.
building little 8x10s, 8x12s,
Mm-hmm.
and I shot a 3-inch nail in my hand,
Just every
And-
carpenter's done it.
and I looked down at my hand. I went, well, and it wasn't bleeding or anything.
Right.
So I just grabbed that nail and yanked it out.
So many people do.
And of course, that's the wrong thing to do.
Right.
But
But so many people have.
and of course, I start bleeding like a stuck pig, and I go over
Mhm.
there and rinse it off, and
Mhm.
stop it from bleeding, and went right back to work.
Time is money. Right. That's awesome. So, but I got all your fingers.
Got all
so,
my fingers still.
measure. Do you measure twice, cut once?
Absolutely.
Always measure twice, cut once.
Actually, my master carpenter Eddie, I think he gets a little mad at me because I take a little too long measuring and marking.
Yeah, because he's a master carpenter.
That's
right. I always thought rapido meant you're my friend. I mean, apparently it means that white boy takes too long to measure and cut. It's what I found out whenever I was doing carpentry work. But yeah, that so when you're on site, just real quick about that, do you have a cut man, a guy who goes and is cutting everything while it's going down?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's usually a cut man on site.
Okay.
But that's not to say that everybody's a cut man.
Oh, well, obviously.
But yeah, there's usually a lead person,
Okay.
who's doing the cutting and supervising and watching what's going on and
Right.
directing.
Okay.
But yeah, everybody's a cut man.
Gotta love it. Right. Carpentry.
Carpentry.
I know, right?
Wood.
It's like,
Arr, arr.
a friend of mine, her husband is a carpenter, and he will walk into Home Depot and he is like, babe, just come look at this wood. Look at the grain. So and she's like, it's wood. It's wood.
Well,
She
and
gets so mad at him.
I'll tell you what really bugs my suppliers sometimes is we hand pick every single. So when I call in an order, they pull my order and everything, but they know my standards.
You're going to hand pick,
and
after they've already hand picked.
So they hand pick all my lumber, and then before we load it up into my trailer, we inspect every single board also. In the beginning, it was ugly, but they've gotten really, really good about pulling our good lumber.
So when I was in college, so like I retired from the service in 2015, I went to college at UTA. So I was like the oldest student anyone ever seen. And I had a lot of carpentry skills, and I took drama. I had to take an elective. So I took theater practicum, where you went and helped build the sets and stuff. And I would get so mad because I'm like, who inspected this lumber?
Right.
Who inspected it? Why would you let them? Well, the supplier drops it. We don't inspect it. What, you got free labor here. Why, you had a whole class of kids that could come in and inspect the ones that are straight and send the other ones back. Oh, he would get so mad at me. I'm amazed I passed that class because it was, you're not building builder grade stuff. So, and he showed us a lot. He really did show us a lot of workarounds, because you're building a set. It doesn't have to hold anyone.
Right.
It's just holding a piece of, fascia board type thing. So it was much easier to deal with. But
and also if you hand pick your lumber, then you can build easier too, because you're not having to deal with crowns and curves and snakes and everything else.
Right. And that's why those videos are so interesting to me on YouTube, where they're dealing with those things, because we always handpicked our lumber and I never had to deal with it.
Right. Exactly.
Really. I mean, maybe once in a blue moon, but there was an old carpenter in the bunch that knew what to do about that. Oh, you do this, you put a screw here, and you grab it with your you grab it with your hammer.
I mean, if there's a knot in the wrong place, then I don't like it.
Right.
Right. I mean, and of course, that's just a little bit of OCD there, but
right.
But my customers appreciate it.
You probably get that look every time from your supplier. Really?
No.
I get those looks from people all the time.
Well, only if they got somebody new there and don't know me yet.
They have not learned.
They have not learned.
They have not felt the wrath of Keith.
There is no wrath. There is just training.
Is that what you call? I always say that to people. I was like, there is no mistake. There's a teachable moment.
That's right.
And I try to teach people whenever they screw stuff up, and it's
make fun of a little bit,
just a little, slightly. Right. The guy I work with the other day, he did something where he was supposed to come back with the iPad and set it down, and that let me know that we were supposed to go help my boss unload the truck, and he didn't come back with his iPad and set it down. So he set it down outside. So I was waiting for him to come back. He never came back. And I was on the phone with Burleson PD talking about the show. And I was like, when my partner gets back, I've got to let you go. And he never came back. So he comes down with the stuff. And my boss is like, how come you never came and helped us? It's like, he never came back in here and told me to come out there. He left the iPad sitting out there. That's a no-no. We don't leave the iPad out of the office, because if it walks away, we're screwed. We can't work the audio system.
Right.
And I was like, did you do that on purpose? Did you do that so I get in trouble with the boss? He's like, no, absolutely not. Hey, Keith, thank you for being on the show. I appreciate you.
It's been a pleasure. I appreciate it, Mike.
Man, we're going to get you back. It's going to be soon. And you guys take care out there at Johnson County, and we will see you on Monday.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, JoCo Community Radio.
Hey, travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our smart